Hello, everyone. I am here to present you an unusual tape I discovered of the 1995 Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. For those who don't know, I'll give you a brief rundown of the story. After many action packed battles across Japan, Godzilla's heart began to run out of radiation and enters the meltdown. To make the situation even worse, a new monster called Destoroyah spawned from the chemical reactions caused by the oxygen destroyer in the original Godzilla movie. Lee appears, and it's up to Godzilla to save the nation before he himself destroys it. Anyways, I came across this VHS tape back in 1996, shortly after the film had been released in Japan. Being a serious fan of Godzilla, I obtained the tape and after buying it directly from a Japanese distributor myself for a small fee. Plus import costs inserting the tape into my player, I noticed the first major difference. Rather than the film opening with Godzilla rampaging through Hong Kong, the film opens to Birth Island, which is where Godzilla and his son, Little Godzilla, went home after destroying Space Godzilla in the previous film. Little Godzilla can be seen wandering around the island, blowing bubbles and generally having a whale of his time on the small island. But Space Godzilla can be briefly seen in the background when the little Godzilla wanders far away from his father. I assume that this was an error due to the stock footage use. Godzilla doggedly watches his son, having flattened several trees to get the better vantage point over the island's coastline. Suddenly Godzilla's chest pulses and radiation emits out of the scuttle on his back. He roars in agony as the scene then cuts to a little Godzilla, who turns around surprised to see the screen goes white. The film then continues onwards to Hong Kong introduction, and from point on forwards, the film continues as normal, with a few small errors such as Godzilla Jr. missing one of his roars, and the lines usually controlled by the juvenile Destoroyah puppets being visible every so often. The film then changes, becoming a bit more disturbing when Godzilla Jr. is killed from the final Destoroyah, from the form of it. Destoroyah lifts Jr. into the air as per usual, but Jr. desperately tries to fight back, blasting Destoroyah in the face multiple times with his atomic breath. Destoroyah shrugs it off and uses all of his strength, throws Jr. onto the ground. When Jr. hits the ground, instead of seeing Mickey and her friends' shocked reaction, Jr.'s face is known from a close up, foaming at the mouth in a similar fashion to when he was injected by the micro-oxygen earlier in the film. He is also now shown to be writhing in pain, and the right side of his suit's face is depressed and dented inwards. This continues for about a minute or so before Jr. falls limp. Godzilla even looks angrier than usual and storms towards Destoroyah in retaliation for the death of his son. But Destoroyah uses his powerful arms to toss Godzilla aside into the building, which collapses under the mutated dinosaur steer weight. Destoroyah appears almost happy that he is killing and injuring his foes, and the sadistic glint in his eyes appears as he's watching Godzilla desperately try to get up to go to his son. Godzilla breathes radiation over Jr., but unlike the normal film, in which he is briefly revived before dying again, Jr. does not stir. The next scene of interest is the subject, which has become a legendary amongst the TG fans. This is a scene that often is described, but very rarely seen. There is no sound except for what appear to be grindings of servos in Destoroyah's suit. The monster braces himself, and the pattern of his chest opens up. What I then saw definitely hadn't been in by anyone else, whereas in the normal deleted scene, Destoroyah's actual beam that is fired as his attack isn't really seen, because it probably hadn't been edited yet. In this version, you can clearly see the beam, which was colored in a bright purple slam into Godzilla. Then the scene fades into white. This was not the end of the tape. However, despite the previous scene having clearly displayed the death of Godzilla, this new scene is shown instead. I saw the production called G vs. D 1005 that was now visible on the corner of the film. and I realized that I had come across a work print version of the movie. The next scene cuts to the body of Junior again. This time he is even worse state than before. Part of his suit is on fire, but rather than just showing the inside of the suit, it's slowly roasting flesh-colored fabrics which made up the inside of the drowned Saurian that can be seen. Flames overtake the monster altogether, and sparks start to fly out of the boundary between the suit's head and neck. The film then ends further onwards than when the JSDF shows up to try and bombard Destoroyah with their weapons. Instead of taking it into the air, Destoroyah's floral pattern opens up again, and then he uses the same move as earlier, destroying the tanks in a mighty explosion. That marked the end of the film. Rather than being scared, disturbed, or annoyed, I was fascinated by what I have seen. I decided to reorder the tape so I could see the final product, but I wanted to keep the hold of the unusual tape. Perhaps the strangest thing about this tape is that there is absolutely no blood whatsoever. Although it's a rare occurrence, blood is sometimes used in Godzilla series to symbolize a serious injury. Since this wasn't added during the addition of the other special effects, it is always used while the cameras are still rolling. Why the blood had not been used here baffled me. Perhaps it's a symbolic or something. Either way, I'm keeping this tape. Who knows what secrets it may hold.